Good morning everyone and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to our series episodes about the frequently asked questions about the process of Italian citizenship by descent. We think it's very important to do this series of videos about the frequently asked questions for the process, because we are sure that all the questions are now or will be, of course, in the future, the same question that you will ask to yourself. It's Marco Basani as always from the 𝘿𝙞𝙨𝙘𝙡𝙀 Law Office from Italy and 𝙤𝙤𝙪𝙩𝙏𝙪 𝘾𝙝𝙪𝙩𝙏𝙪. Let's start. Today we will continue with other questions that we receive. We receive a lot of questions via email, with social medias, and also during the consultation call. In 70% of cases, the questions are the same. So we are sure that besides you're living in the US, in UK, in Canada, Australia, or in Asia, or wherever you live, we are pretty sure that you may have the same question that another person in another part of the world is having that moment. So the question number one: what is the 1948 case of Italian citizenship Jus Sanguinis? Generally speaking, you have a so-called 1948 case when in your family chart, in your family tree, starting from the Italian ancestor to you locate a woman, for example, your grandmother, and that woman had a child born before the year 1948. In this situation, you have a so-called special case, a case that cannot be handled by the Italian consulate or by the Italian town hall in Italy. So it cannot be handled by the administrative ways, the administrative office, but can be handled only through an immigration attorney in Italy, the Italian court. Why this is a special case? Well, the legal reason is very simple. In the year 1948, the Italian Constitution was approved for the first time, of course. And only with the Italian Constitution, the law for the first time in Italy recognized the full rights and full equal rights between men and women. And so only from that moment, women were considered able, legally speaking, to transmit Italian citizenship to their child, or multiple children. So before that date, legally speaking, because of the old regulation, the old law, the law 555 of 1912, so as you may understand, it's a very old legislation, women were not allowed to pass Italian citizenship rights. Only men were allowed. If you have this type of case, technically you can file an application with a consulate, because the consulate simply apply the law. But with a lot of jurisprudence of legal precedent, starting from the Italian Constitutional Court, the Italian Constitutional Court says this is unconstitutional. This is a discrimination, of course, against the women, against all women. So also women can pass Italian citizenship also before 1948 case. But given the fact this is a ruling that was set only by the courts, only by the jurisprudence, by legal precedent, started from the Constitutional Court and thousands then after that legal precedent, then the only way to claim your Italian citizenship is through the court. That's it. Question number two: what is a minor case of Italian citizenship by descent, and when I have a minor case? You have a minor case when you have a situation similar to the following. You have like an Italian ancestor, let's say a grandfather. Your grandfather from Italy immigrated to the United States, and the Italian ancestor had a child, had your father. Then, when your father was still a minor, grandfather naturalized. With the minor case, which was an interpretation made pretty recently, like less than 1 year ago, by the Supreme Court of Cassazione in Italy, the Supreme Court of Cassazione made this new, strict, and in our opinion wrong interpretation by saying, when you have this situation and the Italian ancestor, grandfather naturalized, the minor, which was minor, was also affected by the will of grandfather. So also the minor was considered naturalized. And so the path of citizenship is closed. So what is important is to check, and why it's very important to check if and when your Italian ancestor naturalized in another country, because it can be a game changer between being eligible or not eligible for Italian citizenship by descent. Right now, this interpretation, as I said, is an interpretation created by a court, the Court of Cassazione, which is a high court in Italy. It's not set by the law. So, of course, this means that this interpretation is not necessarily mandatory for all the courts. Right now, there are many cases that are still fought on this situation, and also there are courts that are proving a minor case, as always. I mean, in the last 30 years, they always approved a so-called minor case. We, as attorneys, we are fighting all the cases for establishing your rights. We are fighting for you because we want to set a milestone and being sure that the minor case is definitely declared as a wrong interpretation. But for doing that, we need to establish new precedent, so many precedent can be used to other cases to establish also new precedent, saying that the minor case is a wrong interpretation. And this is, of course, also our opinion. Question number 3. What rights and benefits comes with the Italian citizenship? Well, I mean, you need to consider that beside the fact that you will be an Italian citizen, so of course, everything, all the rights and benefits related to the fact to have a citizenship. So you can vote, you can be covered by diplomatic forces, and the fact that you have an Italian passport, this is really important. The Italian passport right now in 2024 is ranked with a so-called worldwide index passport. There is an index, it's called the 𝙿𝙤𝙨 passport index, which is the official reference for an index of the most powerful passport. So there is a class F, I mean, all the passport. Right now, Italian passport is ranked as one of the first most powerful passport. What does it mean, powerful passport? It means that you can have access to other countries visa-free. If you are Italian citizen, you can have access to almost all countries in the world without a visa. So this is very important, especially if you have a business or for any other reason. And also you need to consider that beside any rights, benefits you can have if you live in Italy, as an Italian citizen, you are also an European citizen. So the fact that you have an Italian passport means that you are also an European citizen. You can come and stay, live in another European country, in the Schengen zone, I mean, without visas, because you are also an European citizen beside an Italian citizen. So, as you may understand, it's a really big investment that you are making on yourself, maybe, but for all the next generation. All the next generation, your children, grandchildren, grandchildren, so on, because citizenship will pass by descent, will be able to, thanks to you as applicant now, to have all these benefits, all the rights that are linked to have just an Italian passport. Another question, can I pass my Italian citizenship to my children? Yes, of course, you can pass your Italian citizenship to your children. They are your next in line, the bloodline. So beside the fact they are biological children or also adopt children, this is very important. Adopt children have same rights as biological children. Another question, so the question number 5, are there any potential complications or pitfalls I should be aware of related to citizenship by descent? Well, there are for sure, of course, complications. The process is not easy. The process is very complex, is slow and very complex. Especially right now, as you may understand, if we think like 5 years ago, the process was not simple, but there were more flexible regulation in many ways. Right now, given also the fact that a lot of people, way more than in the past, are looking for Italian citizenship by descent, of course, there is more focus on the process, there are more applications, and so when there are more applications, of course, the authorities tend to be more picky to check all documents, to check almost everything. So the process right now is very, very complex. So a complication, of course, to avoid potentially any also future potential complication. That's why it's very important to hire an immigration attorney, because you can check your situation with the current legislation, and a good attorney will be able also to predict what potential pitfalls, potential risks there will be in your case, and eventually will also prepare like a backup plan, a plan B for your application just in case. I mean, it's very, very important to, as I said, it's a long and complex process, but it's very long. So, I mean, let's assume that the process will take like 2 or 3 years. In 2 or 3 years, many things will change. In 3 years, we had a COVID pandemic, we had a completely change of the work situation. So, I mean, everything can happen in 2 or 3 years. So that's why it's very important to hire really professional immigration attorneys with expertise, real expertise on Italian citizenship processes. Another question, the last one, can I apply for Italian citizenship if my ancestor naturalized? Well, yes and no. The answer can vary. You can if they naturalize after the birth of the next in line, under certain circumstances. You cannot if they naturalize before the birth of the next in line. If you have a grandfather who immigrated to the United States, your grandfather naturalized in 1920, and his son, your father, was born in 1921, of course you cannot apply, because your father was born from an American father. Your grandfather was not Italian anymore. So it's important, always important, to check the naturalization date. As always, if you have comments, something you want to ask, you can leave a comment below. We cannot do consultation here on social medias, so you need, of course, to book a consultation call if you have some really particular question we want to analyze of your case. We always do, and the team always do, a free eligibility check on your case by sharing your family tree. It's very, very important to us to be in touch with you, and of course, it's very important also for you to subscribe to the channel, to make a like to the video, and of course to subscribe to the channel, because as long as we post any new videos, you will immediately receive a notification on your phone, and so you can watch the video and be updated, because we will post many videos as soon as we have updates for the process, good or bad news actually. So it's very, very important to be really updated with the process, with the latest news about the process. Thank you so much as always for your time, and see you on the next videos.